In this Holy Week, I'd like to talk about some of the most important things we have here at the Oratory in Manchester, and they are the relics of the Passion. We are privileged enough to have several relics which have been given to us over the years. We have some fragments of the True Cross. We have a part of the Crown of Thorns. We have a part of the sponge from our Lord's Passion. And we have secondary relics, those relics which have been in the proximity of those most sacred things. And at this time of year, in this Holy Week, they have a very particular prominence for us. If you go to church on a great celebration, you may see relics of the saints, which are used to make the altar more beautiful and to bring us into close proximity of the saints whose mortal remains these are. But the relics of the Passion can never be used like that. They are, if you like, a standalone item. They rank in precedence next to the Blessed Sacrament itself. Indeed, the relics of the Passion, the primary relics of the Passion, when they're venerated, after that, benediction is given with them, with a red humo veil and a red stole. It's very moving and very, very poignant. They excite in us those acts of love and adoration which are consistent, brought to perfection in this Holy Week. The relics of the True Cross, as we know, were found by St. Helen, the mother of St. Constantine, the emperor. She'd gone to the Holy Land as an old lady, and in the excavations that she brought about there, these things were discovered. We know that when the relic of the True Cross was found, the other crosses were found, those of the good and the bad thief. And to determine which one was the real cross, the true cross of our Lord, people who had great infirmities were brought and touched the crosses, and when they touched the true cross, they walked. Their eyes could see again. One year in September, when we keep the Feast of the Holy Cross, I was in the United States of America visiting my family there. And I went to the Greek Orthodox Church down the road. And there, on the Feast of the Holy Cross, a wonderful procession took place. It was with an icon of the cross, and it was surrounded by leaves of basil, what they call basil, the herb that we use. And at the end of the liturgy, we all came up to kiss the cross and kiss the priest's hands, and he gave us some basil to take home. Because, and he told us the story, is when the cross was found, this herb was growing from it. And so it was called the king of the plants, the basileus, which is Greek for king. So that has always brought very happy memories of my time in San Diego. We have also here the relic of the Crown of Thorns. Now, the crown itself, the woven part of it, as we know, is in the great Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris. It was one of those relics, the chief relic that was rescued during that horrible fire. The little spines, the big spines of the Crown of Thorns have been distributed around the world. You can see one in the V&A Museum. That crown, which probably wasn't just a circlet, it was like a hat pressed down onto our Lord's head. Those great spines going into his flesh and into his skull, pouring down a new Red Sea through which we can cross to reach the promised land. The relic of the sponge that we have here, when our Lord says, I thirst, and they put a sponge on a reed and dipped it in vinegar and put it to his mouth. That sponge and that vinegar and that reed, I often thought to myself, well, why was there vinegar and why was there a sponge and why was there reeds at Calvary? Well, a friend of ours told us last year, and I corroborated it through research, that the sponge and the reed and the vinegar were used by Romans when they went to the toilet. When they'd finished, they would wipe themselves clean with a sponge on a reed dipped in vinegar. And that gives us a completely new understanding of its use in the Passion. This is what the Roman soldiers have been using to clean the filth from their most private parts. And that was all on the sponge. And the vinegar was supposed to disinfect it. But that sponge, which they'd used, was put on a reed and pushed to our Lord's mouth. The one who spoke only things of goodness and beauty, the Sermon on the Mount, words of love in his Passion. That mouth was covered with all that sponge contained. These relics of the Passion that we have bring us to stand with Our Lady and St. John at the foot of the cross. But they were all used as instruments of torture, and they were all used as instruments of hate. But now for us, they are precious tokens of God's love for us. It doesn't matter what we go through, what we have to suffer. It doesn't matter if our faith seems to disappear. All of these things were heard at the foot of the cross. My God, why have you forsaken me? But remember, and this is something which has struck me over the years, the very beginning of the Passion, the agony in the garden, our Lord says, Father, not my will, but yours be done. And at the very end of the Passion, he says, Father, into your hands I commend my spirit. These two phrases of Father and Father make an inclusio. They give us the beginning and the end of the Passion. Father, Father. And everything that happens between those two great claims of the Divine Son, everything that happens in them is the gift of the Son to the Father and brought about our redemption. We look at these things now which cause so much suffering, and when we weep tears before them, they're tears of sorrow, but really they are tears of joy and thanksgiving that all this was done because he loves us so much. God bless.